Now, joining us from sunny Arizona, we are honored to have Ann McGurty presenting to us today. She will be giving us what she calls a reality webinar demonstrating the life cycle of file management, how to index your items into PaperTiger working through her inbox, and we are excited that she will also be covering the newest enhancement to our software, Digital Tiger, powered by Google Docs. We will be covering as much as possible within the hour allotted, but of course it is impossible to give every detail and address every workflow situation in a 1-hour webinar. The custom details are what you need Ann's services for. Ann McGurty is the CEO and founder of Strategize and Organize. Ann is a keynote speaker, productivity coach, organizational consultant, and author of the book Lost in Your Own Office, and a contributing author of the book Speaking Your Truth, Courageous Stories from Inspiring Women, Volume 2. Ann shows people how to work more effectively with less effort, whether you are a business owner, business head, or CEO, or an individual in a personal or professional setting. Ann improves productivity for individuals as well as organizations of all sizes and across all industries. Her entrepreneurial upbringing and corporate background mesh with her experience as a professional business process consultant and trainer to get the necessary results for each of her clients, and actually guarantees the results based on the agreement that you make with her before she begins work. Currently, Ann is offering 30 free minutes for anyone on the call that will contact her to get on her schedule for an opportunity to help you decide if PaperTiger and Digital Tiger are the right tools for you, and to decide if your office is efficient and organized as it should be. Now, you won't learn everything that you need to know about organizing your office in that 30 minutes, but it will be a start for you to begin working with Ann and to see if you actually need her services going forward. She is currently running a special 30-day program that includes a 1-hour weekly one-on-one phone call. That's a total of 4 hours with her personally, and unlimited email quick questions. This package is usually $1,500 for a 3-month program, but for only $297, you'll receive a 30-day coaching program to assess your organization, create the right plan customized for the way you work, identify the right tools, and create a plan for maintenance. I'll be pasting Ann's contact information into the chat section for you to pick up, so contact her today and take advantage of this special offer. Ann may be in Colorado sometimes and Arizona sometimes, but she is nationally recognized as an expert and works with people in person and virtually to customize a system to help make their lives more productive and organized. Ann, thank you for your time and dedication to teaching others how to use PaperTiger more effectively and productively. We welcome you and thank you for being our presenter today. Ann? Ann? Oh, I'm sorry, I must have lost her somehow. Ann, are you there? Okay, got everyone. I'm sorry. Ann is calling in again. I'm not sure if y'all could hear her or if it was just me that could not hear her, but she will be calling in again. Hold on just a moment. While we're waiting, if you will, watch for Ann's contact information in the chat section now.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yay, okay, I called back in. All right,
okay.
Hopefully gosh, technology, you know?
I know. Okay. All right,
okay,
let's take it away.
Okay, thank you, everybody, and thank you, Janet, for the wonderful introduction. And thank you, everyone, for attending the webinar here tonight. And I know here it is a Wednesday night in the middle of the week. You might all be a little bit tired. So I hope to make this, fun and helpful and most of all, worth your while. Working with the paper tiger is quick and easy once you understand the basic methodology of how to use it. And one of the things I guarantee with my clients is that if you're using the paper tiger, you are going to change the way you do business and the way you file and the way you think. So I'm going to give you some basics tonight on what I do with setting up the paper tiger and how I now use it working with the digital tiger. A lot of people have commented that my sessions are incredibly helpful for them to understand how to set up the system. Other people are a little bit more advanced, and they don't need so much of a rudimentary lesson. So every now and then I'll throw in some tips that might be a little bit higher level. So if I lose you for a while, hang in there because we'll come back so I can address hopefully everybody who's on the call. And again, as Janet mentioned, I am absolutely willing to offer a free 30-minute phone consultation with anyone to answer your questions on how to get more familiar with using the system. It's not a consulting call, but it is just a free advice on how to make it work best for you and if it really is the right tool for you. Okay, so say for instance you're all set up. You've already gone to my link and you've purchased the paper tiger. Or if you have it already and you're not using it, now's the way to get started. You have a link from the paper tiger and you can sign in with your username. So my username is my email address, and I have my own password, and I go ahead and I sign into my paper tiger. Now this is the paper tiger web-based version. There's a lot of people out there who may be familiar with the paper tiger that is a desktop version, which means that they either had a download link so that it's being used on one computer, or they have a CD, a disk, that they downloaded the program onto their desktop. That is still a very viable product, and it does the same functionality as far as the search. However, it's not web-based, so that means you can only access it from the computer you're on. And it also only has access to finding your files that are paper files. With the web-based paper tiger, you are able to incorporate their newer product, the digital tiger, with the paper tiger, so that you are now able to quickly and easily find your paper and electronic files in the same methodology as you're used to with using the paper tiger. Well, once you've set up your paper tiger and you've created an account, mine's a little bit well-oiled, I should say, because I use it for lots of samples. So everyone will get something like this, which is a dashboard. And in your dashboard, you'll have a notice from Paper Tiger, and this information in the left side is going to have some information about their blog, and you'll be kind of updated on what's going on in the Paper Tiger world. So you can see what myself and other organizers and other bloggers will talk about regarding the Paper Tiger. So it's a nice dashboard to refer to the Paper Tiger world. In your database, the first question that people ask me is, what is a database? Now, a database is an environment that you want to get organized. And an environment could be your business or your home. And I have, for instance, Strategize and Organize, which is my business, which is my business's name. I also have a home office, and that would be anything that is in my home office versus my business. Now, those would be two separate databases. And when you have separate databases, they are unique, and anything that you file within a database is only searchable within that database. So at some point in time, if you want to look for your files at an office, but you also think you want to look at the files at your home office, then all of those files need to be in the same database. Okay, so that's lesson number one. Think about how you want to use the system and how many areas that you want to include in that database. And those areas are going to be referred to as locations as you get into your PaperTiger database. So for the purposes of this webinar, I'm going to open up the database that I created called PaperTiger Webinar. Now, normally when you would open up a database, it's going to be a blank screen. So maybe what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to Dashboard, and I'm going to create a new database just for the grins of the people who don't know how to use this. And we are going to call it the online course file room. So it's everything regarding the online course files. And we create a new database. And you'll see how it created a new database within my system here. And what the system says is that you don't have any location set up for this database. So what it's looking for is, in this new environment, where do you want to put files? So I'm going to go back to my dashboard and go to my webinar, because I want to give you a sample of what it looks like once you set up location. In the average office that we work with, and mind you, I work with primarily offices, but I work with a lot of people's home offices as well. I think about the locations of files that you want to organize. Think about your office. When you're sitting at your office, you look around your space, and you may have papers all over the top of your desk. You may have piles. You may have things on the floor. And you may have things in a drawer to the right of you or the left of you, wherever you have a file drawer. And I want you to think about it. Those files that are in the drawer closest to you, if you're sitting at home now or at your office, open up that drawer and take a look at it. What do you see? Are the items in that drawer things that you're working on currently, or are they really just reference information that you don't refer to often, but they're taking up an awful lot of space? Because that's your premium spot for filing. That go-to drawer that you just went to is what we're going to refer to in the PaperTiger world as your action drawer. So I want you to think about that drawer now. Imagine emptying out that drawer and putting all those files in a temporary box. And this is going to be how you would set up your PaperTiger system. And what you would do is we would consider that drawer now your action drawer. And your action drawer, your action drawer, as I define here, what this is it's for current files that are ongoing projects or permanent activities or projects that will come to an end. And that drawer is best located that's most convenient to you where you're sitting, because it's the files that you're going to access the most. Now, how you would have set up this action drawer in the PaperTiger is you set up a location, a new location, and you would have called it Action Files. let's say action, I'm going to call it 1 because I don't want to repeat the same name. And you would describe it as the drawer closest to my chair, maybe on the right side of the desk. And the capacity is how many files would go in that drawer. So maybe 20 or 30. Let's say 20, 25. We're going to go ahead and add this location. Now, the reason in the Paper Tiger world that you go ahead and you say where it is, the key to this, the success of this system is that it's for you and for others, so that other people can find your files. Even if you know where everything is, you want a system that other people can find things. And by defining where that location is, we'll just give them one step closer to finding that action drawer. For the purposes of keeping things simple, the next location most people would set up is called the reference file. And the reference files are essentially what everyone thinks of in their file drawers. These are the files that, are the general files. They can be anything from A to Z. It can be tax information. It can be advertising information. It can be personal information. Reference information can be mixed with any kind of topic or subject. Because of the Paper Tiger, it doesn't need to be separated based on subject matter. However, what's different here is reference materials are files that are not referenced often, but they're still necessary to have available. And you want to keep them close to your office. It's okay if you need to jump up from your chair to get it at a different area of the room because you're not going to be referring to them or accessing that often. So now the two basic locations that I recommend you setting up in the initial part of your Paper Tiger system is an action drawer and a reference drawer. So just those two locations. So when I told you empty out that one drawer, the reason being is chances are you're not referring to that information on a daily basis right now. So it's something we can get to a little bit later during your process of getting organized and starting your Paper Tiger filing system. So where do you start? Well, with the Paper Tiger, you just set up a location, and you said there's going to be 30 files in the action drawer. And when I initially set this up for reference, I set up that there was going to be 1,000 files, because we had a lot of extra files, for the reference drawer. The Paper Tiger gives you an option that when you set up that location, the first thing you're going to want to do now is you want to go ahead and you want to create labels for that drawer. So what you're going to do is you're going to print labels that are Avery file folder labels that will go into the little tabs that you get with your Pendaflex hanging file folders. You'll see how the Paper Tiger prints out a PDF list of all the names of the files and the numbers so that you can then go ahead and put them onto Paper Tiger labels, onto Avery labels, and then you can go ahead and stick them into the plastic hanging file tabs that you get that you put into a Pendaflex hanging file folder. Obviously, it's not going to have these names on there every day of the month, but there will be little stickers that you can put on these hard tabs that will go onto the Pendaflex file folder like that. So now that you've got a little bit of a visual, one of the key tricks with people on getting organized and doing their filing is they don't often file after that first day or that first period of getting organized because they don't have all the materials in place. So what happens is they get lazy, and I used to work at lazy because I used to do it myself. If you don't have the supplies in order and the materials in place, it seems to be too much work to go make another label. So with the Paper Tiger, having the chronological numbers all ready, you have empty slots ready, to add material in files when you're ready to put your files away. So here, when Janet said I do a real live going through my inbox, this is what we do when we start getting organized with a paper tiger. Well, for instance, you're looking at your desk right now. When you're looking at your desk, maybe the first piece of paper that you came across was for taxes 2011. And what you came across was a Goodwill donation receipt. So the way you would have added that was that you would have hit New, and you have the option of saying the item name of the file, and you type in good keywords that are appropriate for that file, and then you add it to your paper tiger list. And as you can see from what I just did there, I only have a few files set up already, and I have 1 through 3, and then we had deleted one that was in 4 at one point in time. So it picks the next available number because there's an empty slot now, and it goes into that area. So you're not having to reorganize your files because something is sequentially off. It'll automatically go into the next open area. So I'll give you an example of, I just went back to Colorado last week, and I picked up all my mail. And one of the things so as I'm going through my mail, I now have this pile on my desk. I got back on Monday, and I'm saving my filing for my class tonight. So, for instance, I came across that I have an insurance piece of paperwork. One of the pieces of paper I have is from my insurance company. So what you do is you go into your paper tiger and you browse to the word insurance. And what I found out is that I have files on insurance, but they're all in my digital files. You can see how these are all digital files. In my paper tiger, there's no physical paper, so I don't have anywhere to put that piece of paper. I'm going to go backtrack now and tell people about the digital tiger here. The digital tiger, once you are set up with the digital tiger, you can update your data preferences in your paper tiger to show where you can search your digital results. And I'm going to hit no for a second here because I think I just jumped a little too fast on that. Hang on. I'm going to go back and hit update database. Okay. So when I was doing my filing here just now, I was looking for insurance in my paper tiger. Well, I have nothing in my paper tiger files regarding insurance. Let's use another keyword, medical, because sometimes you don't remember the name of the file. Well, it looks like I don't have any physical files where I keep medical or insurance records anymore, because I have learned that I no longer want to keep the paper files for those. So what I've learned is I like to now do all my files electronically, and the paper tiger now connects with Google so that any of your docs can be uploaded digitally to the Google Docs world, and you can sign that document with the paper tiger. So I'm going to give you a little quick lesson here on what that looks like. When you go to the paper tiger, you can sign up for the digital tiger. And when you get a digital tiger account, within your paper tiger database, you have what we call preferences. And in the preferences, you can activate that you want to see your digital search results included in your paper tiger. And what that means is that the paper tiger will find anything that you've logged into the paper tiger database, as well as anything that you have in your Google Docs environment. Going forward with your database, you include that you want to have your Google Docs electronic information and update your database so that when you're searching for keywords, it'll now look for anything in your electronic files as well as your paper files. Okay. All right. I'm going to go back to locations. All right, so in the paper tiger world, when people are setting up their files, you have your action files, and the trick is to log any paper that you feel is important for you to keep a physical piece of paper. So for instance, you may have tax information that you're collecting, and you may not be ready, like that Goodwill receipt. That's a form that I got when I stopped off at Goodwill, and it's not necessarily something that I want to scan. It's something that I physically want to give to my accountant and give as part of my records for when I'm doing my taxes. I have a statement from my bank that came in the mail. So I added that file, and I put a note in there that it's Chase Bank and that it was really a bank statement question. I have some information regarding travel from last year. You can see that this is kind of an older one that I've had for last year. And I had some paper that was just kind of floating around on my desk and said, okay, I still need to do something with this. Maybe I need to read it. So it's still in action, so I filed it in my action drawer. And you can see I have another piece of paper that I came across. There was a dispute that I had to deal with the phone company. So that's in my action file. I'm going to skip over to another location so you can see what a reference drawer looks like. Anything that goes into a reference file, you can see these are things that are something I'm not needing to take action on. You might come across some files regarding your car. And the types of information that would be in a reference file would be your registration form, your DMV information, any receipts that you may have. And these are all key words that will help you find that paperwork later, but you can't remember necessarily whether it was in a car file or an auto file. With the paper tiger, you'll be able to find it based on whatever word that you want to look for. So let's go back here to the dashboard. I'm going to go to my webinar database and say, for instance, today's a new day and you're looking for a file on your car because you need to do an oil change. With the paper tiger, you type in the word car. And since you have information in Google Docs related to the word car, it'll pull up anything that has that CAR in there. But it also has your physical files in the paper tiger, and it pulls up your reference file for car here that shows that you have your oil change receipts in here, and you'll know to go to that file. The more specific you are with your search, the more refined it'll be when you're going to look for it. So you can say auto repair, and you'll see that there was only one file that I ever had where I used the full term auto repair, which was a conversation that I had with someone, which is in electronic form in my Google Docs world. So I have no physical pieces of paper referring to auto repair. But maybe I might have grease monkey. And you can see that that was one of the keywords that I used when I was creating a physical file for my car. So then I would go to reference number 2 and find that file regarding grease monkey and my receipts on my oil changes. When you're working with the paper tiger, a lot of people these days are saying, you know, I'm really, really ready to go paperless. So how do you go paperless now? And a big part of going paperless is trusting that you have a storage system that will allow you to access your papers easily and safely. And that's where this Monticello company has made a brilliant new product of the Digital Tiger, which is an app that attaches to Google. And people are saying, why Google? And Google is, as a lot of you may know, is one of the most recognized names for search engines of finding things. And since the Paper Tiger is about finding paper, it naturally makes sense to use the best-known search engine for finding your electronic information as well. In order to set up the Paper Tiger to find your electronic information, it's actually a requirement that you set up a a Gmail account. I'm not going to be showing anything visual right now. I'm just going to be talking here a little bit. If you want to find your files electronically, you need to go into Gmail and set up a new account. Actually, we'll show you that. So for some of you that you don't have a Gmail account, you go into Gmail, you sign up in an account. If you don't have one, it looks a little bit like this. I'm going to do a different. And when you're into a Gmail account, what happens is you have access to creating a virtual storage system for your electronic documents. And what that's called is Google Docs. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because it gets a little overwhelming for people, and that's where my free consultation will come in handy. I'm happy to teach you about that. But Google Docs is becoming the cloud way of storing all of your files. People are used to having things in folders on their desktop, and in those folders, what they have is folders of all their file architecture, like I have over here, of what would be on a normal hard drive. So in the Microsoft world, this is to be called My Documents and My Folders. And say, for instance, you would have a folder called Paper Tiger, Paper and Digital Tiger. So when you were to create that folder, you would have all of these files in that folder. And all of these different files would be on your desktop. And sometimes people have a really hard time finding them because they can't for the life of them remember what they did call them. But with Google Docs, it doesn't matter what you name it because it always finds things based on words that are within the actual document. So anything that I have in my Paper Tiger collection with the word webinar will automatically come up. And I didn't have to dig deep within my Google system because it's all right there. It's what they call a flat file, and everything will come up automatically. How do you include any electronic documents into your Google environment? There are little tricks where you can look at your files, you can do an upload, and that upload allows you to look at anything that is on your computer. You can see how your whole structure here. Michael, you okay?
Sorry, yes. Yeah, we're fine. While you were there, I wanted to direct you to a question that we have from Maureen. She wants to know, can you scan documents in and route to an action file? So I thought you might answer that while you were in this section of your presentation.
Oh, good. Okay, I will address that. Okay, so scanning will be the next step.
Okay, good deal.
So let's, Maureen, we'll address that in just a second. For those of you that have existing documents on your desktop, you can start to find them individually on within your system right here by going into your files. So we could go into this, and we could go into like my book, and I can go through and pull any of the files that are on my hard drive. So say, for instance, I'm writing a book on Paper Tiger, and if I wanted to have it on Google Docs and find it all the time, I could go ahead and upload that. So what would happen is, it's kind of a long one, so it's a big file, but what you would do is you would upload it. You would see how it starts to upload. It does a little conversion, kind of long, so it might take a minute. And what happens now is that electronic file from your hard drive will now be part of Google Docs. And for those of you who, if I were working on it the old days, I would have kept a hard copy of that book in a paper file in my desk called an action file. And since I'm keeping everything digitally, oops, I did a huge file, so that was not a good example. Sometimes they get a little bit too big. It's like 300 pages and lots of graphics. So let's go through this. All right, so here, excuse me, that was not a good example. Okay, let me just go back here. Do an upload of a document. I'm a writer, so I've got lots of documents, and they're all long. Okay, we go into my documents. So say, for instance, I have a blog post that I want to pull up. And what I can do is I can pull up all of my blog posts that I have. I have a couple in there. Sorry. Let's try this getting started with the Paper Tiger online. Okay. When we're dealing with electronics, sometimes it takes a couple of minutes. I know we all get a little impatient sometimes. I know I do. But once you can convert all of you can take your electronic documents as you need them. I was on a phone call yesterday with someone, and she says, I don't want to convert all of my hard drive over to Google Docs, and I think that's okay. I think get started with the information that you're needing now, because after all, that's the stuff that you're going to be looking for in the weeks to come and months to come, is to work with the information that is going to be most pertinent to you today. When you start to upload that as you use it, you'll find out that you'll be referring to Google Docs as your main storage system rather than your hard drive, probably in a short period of time. It took me about 3 months to totally start relying on Google Docs, and now it's been about 9 months since we started doing the beta testing with the Digital Tiger. So it's been about 9 months where I finally have gotten to the point where I don't store hardly anything on my hard drive anymore, because everything I really need is in my Google Docs environment. So back to the question with the person who says upload complete. I'm going to type in the word. With Google Docs, you type in any word that would be within a document, and it'll find it for you, which is a lot different from using the search on your hard drive. So here's a document that I created, getting started with the Paper Tiger, that is now in my Google Docs. If I were to look for that file over in my Paper Tiger files, let's see, we'll call it Paper Tiger book. Let's use getting started. search for that word. And 5 seconds ago, you couldn't find the word getting started because it wasn't part of my Google Docs, but now it is, and you can find that file. So what you would do in this digital tiger is you would click on this icon here, and for sake of time, I'm not going to do it. But for sake of time, you would click on this, and it would download that virtual document. And you can see the last time I worked on it was March 8th, which is today. And then I'm going to go down into the other avenues, and there's no physical file regarding to getting started, that journal of documents. So now you know that you only have a document called Getting Started in electronic format. Now back to Maureen's question. If you were going to, say for instance, I was going through my mail, and today I'm going through my mail, and I have a scanner, and I have a document that we're going to go ahead and scan right now. I've got my ScanSnap Manager connected to my computer, and I have a file that it's a medical benefits form. It's called an explanation of benefits when I had a doctor's appointment. So I went ahead and scanned that document, and you can synchronize depending on the style of your scanner and have it directly uploaded to Google Docs, but I don't have that on this computer here, so I have to go an extra step. So what you can do is you can scan any document going forward that you do not want to physically file. You want to have it electronically filed, and you scan it, and this is going to be my golden rule, EOB, and I always say what it is, who it's from, what it is, and the date. That's my logic for how to file paperwork. And I'm going to browse where we're going to save that, and we're going to save it into a desktop file that I have called Upload to Google Docs. So we're going to go ahead, and we're going to save that. Save successfully. Okay. So now, when I am in my paper tiger, and I want to type in golden rule, actually, I don't even have to save all of it. So let's say I type in golden rule. And I'm going to have a lot of them because I have a lot of health insurance claims. Okay, golden rule. Oops, maybe I didn't connect it quite yet. Let's go to my Gmail account. Oh, you know why? Because I just uploaded it to my desktop. See, even the experts make mistakes. You always have to think ahead of the curve. So what you do is then you upload your file, and I'm going to go to my desktop. I'm going to go to my folder, and I'm going to find my golden rule. I'm going to upload that document. It is now going to be stored in, you'll see how it's now in my Google Docs. And you'll see that it's in there. And when you go back to your paper tiger and you're looking for golden rules, you search on it. And now it will find everything you have regarding golden rule in your digital tiger. So anything that you've stored in there is now going to be coming up in your paper tiger. You'll see at the bottom here that I do not have any more Golden Rule paperwork filed in any of my paper files. So this is, as I said, a very quick overview on how to incorporate going from your paper files over to electronic files. You can feel really safe knowing that it is stored in the Google Apps environment, the Google environment, because it is one of the safest environments out there today. We have statistics on the Monticello website talking about how they store things with Google Docs, and also how your Paper Tiger files are backed up using Amazon's backup system. So all of your information is very secure, and that is like one of the biggest questions that people say is, I want my information to be secure. It is more secure than your own little hard drive that you may purchase and put on your desk, because that can't be replaced if something were to happen, if you were to lose that, or if there's water on it, or if there's some kind of disaster and you lose that hard drive. This is accessible at any other place where you can log into a web-based browser and log into your Google account. So, do we have any questions, John? I'm just kind of going along here on going forward on how to use the Digital Tiger with your Paper Tiger. Do we have any questions that have come up?
Yeah, the only two questions that we have had is that one that I let you know about for Maureen that said, can you scan documents in and route to an action file? And I believe you demonstrated that with putting it into the collection that you want it to go into, which, you know, you could just set up a folder or a collection in Google Docs named Action. And also Kathy, she had also asked previously, how secure are the digital documents that you scan in that are stored in your Google Docs? And you just answered that. So I don't see any other questions at the time. So you're rolling right along and doing very well, obviously.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, I want to talk about, for those people who want, a lot of our questions people ask is, you know, they want to move to electronic, but they don't know how to do it. And I think the best thing to do is to just start with your information today. So, for instance, when I just went through my mail and I got that document from Golden Rule on my benefits for my health insurance, in the old days, you know, a year or so ago, I would have kept that piece of paper and filed it into my Paper Tiger system. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And, you know, the way that you do that still is that is really now a reference file. So you would go to your reference file and you would create a new file, and you would call it Golden Rule, and you would call it EOB, insurance, medical, and instead of EOB, you can say explanation of benefits. And then you will add it to your file cabinet to reference number 12, and you physically now can keep that piece of paper and put it in that drawer. You know, that's for people who still want to use the paper system. There's nothing wrong with that, and if that's more convenient for you still, that's why the Paper Tiger is still a very viable system, because people still want to use paper files. Now, if say 6 months from now, you're feeling ready to move to an electronic system and make all your files electronic, what you can do is look at do what I call a file cleanout report. This is my favorite report. And say, let's look through the reference drawer. Let's see what we have in there and run a report of what's in that drawer. And the Paper Tiger will generate a report of everything that is in your reference drawer. And this is a really great management tool to say, okay, everything in the file number 1 is regarding strategize and organize, regarding webinars, Paper Tiger, Monticello. It may be bulky, and there might be things that you want to keep in there. So you may decide you're not going to do anything. You're going to leave it there. But you look at your car file, and you're thinking to yourself, you know what? That registration form, the DMV, all of this information is really not necessary to keep all that bulk. But you do want to keep it because you still have that car. So maybe you may decide that bulky file, number 2, you may want to take all the paperwork out of there, go ahead and scan it, and put it in your Google Docs folder and call it car, and now have all of this information available virtually. Now, there's 2 benefits to that. One, you're getting it out of your physical files, and you're moving it to the electronic world. So you're getting it out of your physical files, you're creating more space. But the really exciting part is when you have your physical files now electronically available via the Google Docs, you can actually pull up that last oil change receipt, or you can pull up that DMV physical record and look at it on your smartphone because it is now available in digital format, and which is a major benefit than having to just know it's in reference number 2. You can actually now look at it. So you don't have to have somebody back at the office to pull that file for you and fax it to you or scan it to you so you can look at it. So this is giving you the option of how to help yourself transition these physical bulky files into an electronic version. Now, once you go through this report and decide what you're going to do with them, you can then go back to your paper tiger and maybe what you can do is you can create, just for grins, what they call an electronic file and say these are files moved to Google Docs. Oh, I beg your pardon, that's not what I want to do. What I do is I create a whole other location. I recommend that clients create a whole new location. And we call it Google Electronic Files to Google. These are now available online. Capacity, I'm going to say 1,000 because we're going to eventually move a bunch of them over there. So say, for instance, that car file. Actually, there's too many for the word car. So I remember I had a DMD file. We're going to take that file, and what we're going to do is we're going to transfer it. We're going to move it to a new destination called Electronic Files to Google, and say move it. And it's going to transfer out to another location, and you'll get a report of everything that you've decided that you want to move, and you can then remember that you're going to physically start scanning all of these files to go into Google Docs, and this will be a working tool, a working report for making your physical files paperless as you pull them all out one day and then scan them into your Google Docs account. So that's a quick overview of how to work with the existing Paper Tiger files and have an idea of what it would look like to start going paperless. It's a very new world. I think today in business, the biggest question people have is, how do I go paperless, and how do I trust the digital world? And the reality is that thousands, millions of companies are moving their information to the cloud. And there's lots of different resources for storing your information in the cloud. and some of them are very proprietary to your type of business, and it may be very expensive. And if you don't need a customized system, the Google world is the easiest and cheapest way to go. And it works with the paper tiger, so your methodology of how you filing will remain the same. Do we have any more questions, Janet?
Let's see. Joyce just popped up and said, I would need 2 files, one for hard copy, titles, etc., the other electronic for all files, including vehicle titles. I think that she ended that with a question, so so maybe I should form that. It says, would I need 2 files, one for hard copy, titles, etc., and the other electronic for all files, including vehicle titles? I think some of the things need to be kept in hard copy format and some can be scanned, I think is the question.
You know, it's not a problem. You can have both. And it's the way that the paper tiger is beneficial here is that you now know you can look in multiple places. You know that you not only have a physical file, but you also have an electronic file. And that was the genius part of putting the 2 of them together here, is so that you don't have to look everywhere. You just look in one place on your paper tiger dashboard. Well, I know that these hours go by really, really fast. And all I can say is thank you all for showing up to our seminar and webinar here tonight. If you have any questions, please feel free to call me for a free 30-minute consultation. I hear you kind of bumping in there, John. If you want to close out, that'd be great. Thank you all for being here tonight.
And thank you as well. You've done a great job, and thank you for your time and dedication to teaching others how to use Paper Tiger more effectively and productively. Okay, everyone, I know that you benefited from Ann today, so contact her to get on her schedule and take advantage of the specials she is offering. If you are ready to get organized and have Ann help you implement a system customized just for you, call or email her today. I have pasted her information into the chat section, so you would be able to scroll through that chat section and pick up any of those links that you need to. And you'll be amazed at how much more productive you'll be in no time at all. Ann, did you want to add anything else?
I think I'm good. Thank you all for your time. Have a great night.
Okay, thanks. Thank you again for attending today's webinar.